you're gonna break into. On you.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. Across the web, on Fight Now TV, and on radio stations around the world. It's the only daily boxing talk radio show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C studio in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calagione. It's time for Talking Boxing. Billy C, good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you listen, I hope you're doing all right. We've got a busy show scheduled today. Busy. But first, the show is being brought to you in part by Campanaro and Tomkovich. If you're looking for a lawyer, these are the ones that keep my ass out of trouble. That is Campanaro and Tomkovich. Give them a call today, 845-221-4099, 845-221-4099. The show is also being brought to you in part by Campanaro and Tomkovich. I'm sorry, I already said them. The show is also being brought to you in part by who? Oh, yeah, my friends down at the Halftime Bar and Grill, Route 9, South Glens Falls. If you're looking for cool people to hang with, drink specials all the time, live entertainment on Friday and Saturday nights, and great food to stuff your face with, well, you find it all at the Halftime Bar and Grill. Give them a call for reservations or directions, 518-792-4869. 518-792-4869. The show's also being brought to you by Campanaro and Tomkovich. Oh, yeah, right. Coming up, actually, in a little bit, we got Scotty Krause. He's going to talk about the Tyson Fury fight and, of course, the Saul Canelo Alvarez fight and some other stuff. Following him, we got Alex Papali, and we're going to be doing a blast from the past on Greg Haugen, a Billy C. Boxing Hall of Famer. And quite the character too. I don't know how far Alex is going to let me go with Greg, but we could have some fun with that. That's for sure. But that'll be coming up in a little bit. We got a couple of emails to read, and I got some program information. We got the stream going. Yeah, we got the stream. Oh, okay, all right. He's giving me. A little thing I got to work on. All right, sounds good. I will. We're testing the other stream. and we got to make sure that everything's working, and apparently it's not. So we will get on that one as soon as we can. I appreciate the heads up on that one. But anyway, the other stream seems to be working. It worked yesterday, but anybody that's watching live or viewing live or whatever, if you drop the stream, then you can go over to our YouTube page, and under the events tab, you will find another stream that I got to fix the sound on. So we will give you alternates here until we finally do the complete conversion over to Ustream. So, as a matter of fact, I will look into that right now, because I'm going to take... I'll do that at the next break. Jean-Paul Valley, or maybe it's Jean and Paul who live in the valley, or Jean-Paul Valley, whoever. He says, respecting Lennox Lewis for walking away. Lennox Lewis didn't walk away. He ran away because a man arrived who wasn't old and who wasn't on drugs like most of Lewis's opponents. And Slappy Joe is even worse. He's undefeated because of the short, cherry-picked opponents. Jean-Paul, you missed my point yesterday. Obviously, you're a new viewer and listener to the show, because you would know that I can't stand Joe Calzaghe for the same reasons you mentioned here. And as far as Lennox Lewis is concerned, never thought much of him either. I respect both of them for, and this is how I said it yesterday, I respect them both for knowing when to say when. That's a topic that we talk about a lot. You know, fighters pushing the envelope, sticking around longer than they should. Yesterday I was using Roy Jones Jr. as an example. So, you know, yeah, I agree with you on both points. However, when I said it yesterday, giving them credit, which I do, I give credit to Lennox Lewis, especially because this was a guy that, was offered all kinds of money to fight, Klitschko again and everything else, and he stayed out. And, I respect that. So, Jean-Paul also goes on to say, Bermain Stavern has been KO'd by a journeyman, and his best win was over the past his prime Ray Austin, a fight that Bermain was losing on the cards until the KO. He says, ring rust taken into account, Arreola wins by knockout via inside 5 rounds. I agree. I agree with you there. There's no question about that. I definitely agree there. But anyway, before I read the next email, I'm going to take a short break. I'm going to see if I can't get that sound issue corrected, and then we'll come back and get Scotty Krause on the line. So we'll be right back in about 2.
If you're in upstate New York and you need a trucking company, then you need Roselli Enterprises. Roselli Enterprises is trucking at its finest. They have it all. Dump trucks, dump trailers, walk-in floors, flatbeds, flowboys, tankers, loaders, and a full line of roll-off containers for any job, big or small. Roselli Enterprises is also the source for all your sand, gravel, and topsoil needs. Visit them on the web at RoselliTrucking.com or call 315-433-5115. That's 315-433-5115. And tell them Billy C sent you.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
We've got a great matchup tonight. Fighting out of the left corner is the #1 ranked contender.
No, he is not.
I'm sorry, but who are you?
I am the IBO computer. I am programmed to provide only fair and unbiased boxing rankings. This fighter is the number 15 ranked contender.
Fair and unbiased boxing rankings? That's a new concept.
Actually, it is not. The IBO has provided unbiased computerized rankings for many years.
Well, we've still got a great fight tonight, folks. In the left corner is the number 15 ranked contender.
The IBO, the champion of integrity. Learn more at IBOboxing.com.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you. I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
As a young boy, all Billy C. dreamed about was one day having his own catchphrase.
And we're back. And we're back.
One boy, one dream, one day, everyone will say.
And we're back. 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 And we're back.
Catchphrase, coming soon to a theater near you.
And we're back. Well, we got the new stream, but still no sound. I don't know. Can't deal with it now. That's what I'm supposed to have a producer for, you know. But anyway, at least we got the stream up, so we got we're halfway home. We're halfway home with that. So if the other stream goes down while you're waiting, you can definitely flip over and well, no comment to that statement. But you can switch over to the other stream. At least you can watch my smiling face until the Ustream one gets back. So all of that stuff is going on, and you know, why we're trying to do live shows. So you know, it gets interesting, that's for sure. But anyway, we're gonna get Scotty on the line here in a sec. So hang tight with that. We got one other email I wanted to read real quick. This one's from Chris Flan. Now, Chris is actually a Fight Now viewer and listener and whatever, however you want to call him. He says, I will never understand why networks like HBO, Showtime, ESPN, etc. Allow these awful commissions, referees, and judges. All they have to do is refuse to air and pay for any of the fights that are in the shady states, I should say. Wouldn't that force promoters and commissions to put on a better product? I bet things in Texas would change fast. They didn't get any of the top fights and lost out on that revenue. What do you think? Well, I tell you, the television, although they are a driving force in the sport, they really don't have any say about the state's commissions or who's appointed and stuff like that. And make no mistake, you know, the bottom line is, as much as the promoters like complain about, you know, in this case Texas and everything else, they're putting it there for a reason, man. When their fighter, the home guy, the Mexican guy, let's say in Texas, you know, they know they're going to get the odds over there. Same thing with the sanctioning bodies. You know, they all complain about the belts, but they're the ones feeding that monster, you know, by putting value in those belts. But anyway, speaking of value, joining us, Scotty Krause. What's up, man?
Hey, good morning, Bill.
I call you on the right line, or what? I as soon as I hit...
You got the right line. You got my cell phone, so you got the right line, buddy.
Hey, don't get snippy with me. I'll hang up on your ass right now. You know, geez.
You'll hang up on me anyway.
Yeah. So That's true. That's true. I'm having issues. You know, we got the new stream going on, and you know, it's a funky camera. We're just experimenting with it, and then I was just informed that there's no sound, so I can't even see where the hell the sound goes. But some interesting fights this past weekend. First, let's talk about the Saul Canelo Alvarez fight. You know, I actually picked Trout, and I think you did too. We talked about that, and you know, I was kind of impressed with Canelo a little bit in terms of him introducing a little defense, and he displayed some patience, which, you know, I know he has in the past. But there was a couple of things about the fight I really didn't like. Number one, I'm not going to argue with the outcome because I felt that the fight was close. I mean, I had Alvarez winning the fight by 1 point. I thought that knockdown was actually the deciding factor. But what bothers me, and I think why a lot of people are complaining about the decision, isn't so much that Alvarez won, but more how crazy the scorecards were. What's your comments on that?
Well, you know, my prediction was that Trout would win the fight, but that he would get hosed out of a decision, that there was no way he was going to win this fight. in San Antonio against a Golden Boy fighter, superstar. So it wasn't going to happen. And I was half right, half wrong. Trout did not win the fight. It wasn't a robbery by any means. Canelo deserved to get the decision, even though I had Trout by 1 point. I had it even going into the last round, and I thought Trout won the last round because Alvarez was, basically just surviving because he knew he had the fight wrapped up. So Trout won the 12th round. To me, that gave him the fight on my scorecard. It was only by 1 point. A lot of people had it the other way, like you just said, Alvarez for a point. I can see 2 points. I can see 3 points, a 3-point spread either way, because it was a tough fight to score. It was one of those fights that you debate over and over again. Is it the busier fighter who's connecting with more punches, or is it the fighter who connects with less, but what he connects with does a little more damage and is a little more powerful? And that's a tough decision. You got to weigh it carefully after each round, and it's not an easy fight to score. But it was a very, very close fight. So I was wrong. I think Alvarez deserves the decision, and he did, I think, prove to a lot of people who were questioning some things about his ability. I think he proved some doubters wrong. My problem is this, and I've steamed about this since the night of the fight, because I hate this. I hate going into a fight feeling this way and then those feelings being confirmed. But screw everybody associated with this fight, with the exception of the fighters who both behaved with total class before, during, and after the fight, and ironically, referee Lawrence Cole, who refereed a very good and fair fight. Take them out of the equation, but just screw everybody else associated with it. There was no way Austin Trout was going in there and winning. And the only thing that's saving us from, a huge outcry of robbery was that, Alvarez did well enough to actually deserve to win very narrowly. But judging by the scorecards, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter whether he did enough or didn't do enough. Trout was not going in there, and he was not going to win a fair fight. And it just was stacked against him. Everything stacked against him. I mean, from, Canelo's private jet and Canelo, Ray Lewis was in Canelo's locker room. He wasn't in Austin Trout's locker room. Everything just seemed to just favor Canelo, the young superstar. This guy has got to win. He's got to win in San Antonio. It's just not going to be any other way unless Trout knocked his head off and buried his body. And it's just no way he was going to win. And to me, that was confirmed by the way the scorecards played out. And that just pissed me off, and it ruined what I think was a very, very good fight. A fight that I think lived up to its hype. It wasn't, Brandon Rios, Mike Alvarado type of fight, but it was a good fight between two young, very good fighters, and they both put on a good display, and they both behaved with class. Everything inside the ring played out very, very well, and it should have been a good night to celebrate boxing. But you know what? I felt dirty afterwards, in spite of everything, because I felt like Trout could have brought a shotgun into the ring. He wasn't going to win. And it reminded me, we know of the history there in the Alamo Dome of Chavez and Whitaker, but it reminded me of another Chavez fight going in. I just had that feel, Chavez and Frankie Randall too. Going into that fight, the way everything played out, the way all the focus was on Chavez, the way even the American national anthem was sung by a Mexican kid who shouted "Viva Chavez" afterwards, I thought, Frankie Randall is not leaving this building with the title tonight. It just is no way, and that's exactly how it played out, and I felt the same way Saturday night. So left a little, just a bad taste in my mouth, Bill.
Yeah, there's no question that the odds are stacked against him. And you know what? Here's the thing, Scott. you got to assume that he knew that. And now I'm going to play devil's advocate. Austin Trout didn't go after Canelo the way he probably should have, and knowing that, and especially with the open scoring, after the fourth round, and especially after the eighth round, after they knew that they had no chance of winning, he did step it up a little, but not enough to control and change the complexion of the fight. So some of the blame has to be put on Austin Trout, I think, and as far as the opening scoring, I think that fight proved that there's no room in professional boxing for open scoring because, talk about taking your foot off the gas and coast to a victory, which, you can't blame the guy. I mean, pretty much all you got to do is get to the end of the fight and you win when you're handed a scorecard that, scorecards, all three, that show that, even if you lose the last 4 rounds, you're still going to win a close decision. So, I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
I agree. Open scoring is horrible. I've always hated it. I think this proved why it's horrible. And I don't blame Alvarez at all for how he fought in the 12th round. Why go out there and put yourself at risk when you know you are well ahead and that all you have to do is hear the final bell and you win? Trout, I don't blame him. That's his style. That's the way he fights. He's not a knockout puncher. And he doesn't have a knockout mentality. And after the 8th round, when he knew that even if he won the last 4 rounds, he doesn't win the fight, he has to knock him out. He's not, Sugar Ray Leonard against Tommy Hearns. He doesn't have that mentality. I don't see that in him. I think he went out there and he tried to still outbox him, thinking that's how, if I'm going to knock him out, I'm going to set up the punches with technique. I can't just run out there and try to overwhelm him. I just don't think that's part of his mentality. And it's too bad because, it's too bad about the open scoring because this could have been a different ending. Who knows how this fight might have ended and finished up if if the fighters didn't know the scores, if we didn't know the scores. I mean, it took the wind out of Alvarez's sail, but what about the viewer? After the 8th round, we're sitting there watching the fight thinking, okay, Austin Trout, who has 11 knockouts or something like that, is not a knockout puncher. He's not going to connect and puts Alvarez out with 1 shot. He's got no hope. Why even finish the fight? I mean, if you're a boxing fan, you're going to, but it goes through your head. It's like, well, what's the point now? There's no drama for these last 4 rounds. And what if there was an open score? What if they didn't have any idea? I don't know that Trout would have thought any differently, but I think Canelo would have. I think Canelo would have thought, I don't know what the judges are thinking. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to pour it on a little more. Maybe he walks into a shot because he's trying harder, or maybe he puts Trout away, or maybe we just get an exciting finish to what was already a pretty good fight. Like I said, everything that went on inside the ring was fantastic. It's the dirty stuff outside that bothers me. And open scoring, while it wasn't dirty, it just took so much out of what would have been a really, really good fight.
Again, I'm going to look at Austin Trout and maybe his team just not doing the right thing and all of that because they didn't even have a rematch clause in on their end. Canelo did. So it just seems
maybe they couldn't get one. Maybe that they'd say, well, if you want a rematch clause, guess what? We're going to pick someone else. I mean, Canelo's the high school prom queen. She picks who she wants. To go on a date with. If you don't agree to her rules, you don't get the date. So, maybe they did everything they could, and it was basically, look, take it or leave it.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's okay to say no. Just say no. I remember that was a campaign of some kind, but
yeah, but you know what? Even though he lost, I think it was whatever he risked, whatever he gambled going in, knowing how everything was stacked against him. He did lose legitimately, and you know what? He behaved with such class. I mean, what fighter in a fight that close is as humble and gracious as Austin Trout was afterwards? Never made one excuse. Never said, "Oh, I thought I won the fight. I thought the judges were off." Blah blah blah. It was the whole night. He was the better man. He won the fight. Congratulations to him. That was so refreshing to hear. And I think Austin Trout put himself in a good situation. I mean, he could have made defenses against fighters that, a lot of people never heard of and built up his record more and added more title defenses to his reign. But you know what? He took a risk, too. He wanted to prove, as Alvarez did, these guys wanted to prove that they're the best, and they wanted to fight the best. And kudos to them. They got in the ring. They put it all out there. And regardless of the ridiculous scoring, Alvarez did enough to win the fight. And I think Trout made a lot of fans. I think he got because Alvarez is so popular, people watched the fight, and I think a lot of people were impressed with Austin Trout. And I think that he did the right thing by taking it, even though it was stacked against him. Like we've talked about, I think it was a good move, and it doesn't. I don't think his stock drops any because he lost this decision to Alvarez.
No, I don't think his stock drops at all, and we'll have to wait and see. A fight that you were at, which you were not at the one I wanted to talk about. You were at the Friday night fights, which we'll get to in a second. But the Tyson Fury fight, did you get a chance to watch that one?
Oh yeah.
Well, I've always been a Tyson Fury fan, and I like him and everything else. And although he's lippy. I think it's funny. I don't know what that song was about, but whatever. We'll let him go on that one. But he's a little lippy, but he does it in good fun. So people think that I don't like trash talkers, which isn't the truth. It's just like it depends what's coming out of their mouth and how they back it up. And he tried to back up everything that he was saying. But here's what I see, Scott. I see as a guy, and as much as this is going to pain me to have flow from my lips, I see a guy that has no chance with David Haye. I think David Haye, destroys Tyson Fury. I think Cunningham proved that. Anybody that's got some hand speed and some footwork can nail Tyson Fury. And when you go down from a shot to the center of your forehead like that, which is let's face it, that's a very unusual punch to knock somebody down. I've seen the side of the temple. I've seen, back of the head, of course, the jaw, square on the face, all those shots. But on the top of the forehead generally doesn't put somebody down the way it did. I'm not saying he was in serious trouble or anything, but it still knocked him on his ass. He also showed me that I thought that he had some improvement with delivering that jab. When he delivers that jab from so low, as he moves up in talent level, they're going to expose it. I think Cunningham did a little bit for why he lasted. And I also noticed that he's not athletic. He has no athletic ability, unlike a Klitschko or even a Lennox Lewis used to. This is a guy that's like Baby Huey in there, Herman Munster with boxing gloves. That's what he was like, And as much as I like him, and as much as I think he's a breath of fresh air, and he does have some pop, I'm not so sure how far he's going to go now that he's in legitimately the upper level of the heavyweights. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the winner of this fight was supposed to fight the winner of Chris Arreola, Bermain Stavern, which is this weekend. I think that's the fight that they fight the winner of to determine the number one contender. I think Tyson Fury can beat either one of those guys, but he's got to fight a better fight, I think. I think he was just, it's my opinion, but I think he's way overconfident against Steve Cunningham. He knew he was going in there against a little guy, and I think he was in shape, but I think he had a lot of confidence that this isn't going to be that hard. And I think that punch surprised him more than anything else. I think he was just being cocky. He was pushing him around, and I think he got caught. And I would hope against a harder puncher like an Arreola or a David Haye or someone like that, he'd be a little more guarded. He wouldn't be as overconfident in the ring as he was against Cunningham. I think in his mind he thought this little guy can't hurt me. And he got very rudely surprised by Cunningham in that second round, which was a shock to me too. Cunningham hasn't shown that kind of power. I mean, when was the last time we saw Cunningham just knock someone off their feet like that? That was a tremendous shot and a surprise, I think, to a lot of people, Fury especially. But I agree with what you're saying about him. I think his skills, and I basically thought this going into the fight. The fight played out pretty much like I figured it would. I mean, Steve Cunningham has more skill as a boxer. There's no doubt about it. But it was a matter of his skill versus the just tremendous size advantage of Tyson Fury. And in this case, size did matter. He just was too tall, too big, and he used his size. He used that power. He used his height. He used all that to his advantage, and used a lot of rough tactics to tire and wear out Cunningham, and that set him up for the knockout. And how he'd perform against the David Haye or someone else, I'm not sure. I agree with you. I think a guy like David Haye knocks him cold. And I'm a Tyson Fury fan, as you are, but he didn't show me a lot of skill. He didn't show me anything that made me think, oh my gosh, he's better than I thought, or he may, he may give a Klitschko a good fight. I can't even imagine him against a Klitschko. I think he gets just steamrolled.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Here's my thought about that. And I'm curious to hear what you think. Both Klitschkos have become very proficient in fighting the smaller guy. And Tyson Fury, for the most part, has too, because let's face it, there's not many guys walking around, especially in boxing, that are 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", So, they've had to become, and we've seen that evolution of the Klitschkos. If you look at some of the older footage of them and watch how they deliver punches to today, and you see that, their punches are actually being thrown in a downward motion to get the maximum power for the smaller guy. I think a guy like Tyson Fury, forget the chin. We put that on hold for a second. But I think a guy like Tyson Fury, who's the same size as a Klitschko, even bigger, might present a different problem for the Klitschkos, that they would have to get back to, delivering punches normally, straight, against a guy their own size. So maybe a guy like Tyson Fury actually has a better chance of surviving in a fight with Klitschko than he would against a mobile and athletic guy like a David Haye.
Well, see, Vladimir, I don't think has just feasted on small guys. I mean, look at his last two fights. His last fight, Marius Vach, was 6'7.5", 250. Before that, Tony Thompson was also, his height and his size. So he's fought a couple guys that were his size, that he had to look eyeball to eyeball with, and not just punch down on and push around in the ring. I think Vitaly's faced a couple as well. Most of the guys they fight are smaller because they just are, but they faced a few their size, and I think they fought just as well. I just don't think Fury, against Cunningham, size was enough, but against Vladimir or Vili, size isn't enough. You have to bring more than just size against them. You've got to bring an equal amount of skill, or you've got to bring some speed, a la David Haye. You've got to bring power. You've got to be in superb condition, because they're going to be. And you got to have a combination of all those things. And Tyson Fury just doesn't have that combination. He has the height. There's no doubt about it. He's got the power. There's no doubt about it. But he doesn't have the hand speed. He doesn't have the coordination. I mean, you just called him Herman Munster with boxing gloves. Herman Munster isn't going to be the Klitschko. He just doesn't have the coordination and the skill, the fluidity to do it. Sure, could he land that punch? Anybody could. And Fury has that punch. If he lands, if he gets that shot in, then anything can happen, of course. But I wouldn't give him much of a chance against either of them. I wouldn't give him much of a chance against the David Hay. There's a number of heavyweights I wouldn't necessarily give him a chance against. I just think he was outboxed. I actually had him behind on my scorecard when he knocked Cunningham out. I thought Cunningham was doing a decent job, but he just couldn't overcome the physicality of Fury. In fact, it's kind of disappointing afterwards to hear all the the crying and complaining that he's done and against Fury for elbows and this and that. I mean, it's a fight. I mean, come on, you went into this fight knowing that it was going to be that way. You got to prepare for it. You know it's going to be rough. You know it's going to be physical, and that's what ultimately did him in. He just could not. If he was 6'7" and weighed 245 and had the same skill that he has, then I think he would have won the fight. But he doesn't, and Fury used his physical advantages perfectly, and won the fight on them.
I complain about fighters, cheating and stuff like that, but I gotta, and I know people are gonna be mad at what I'm gonna say, but since when does that stop me, Scott? The truth is I don't mind the tactics that. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not a supporter of headbutting in any way, shape, or form, especially blatant on purpose headbutts, but. I'm not really opposed to a guy with a couple of little dirty tactics here and there. I think like the Cunningham, you mentioned that he's crying about this and that, and he was actually pretty gracious after the fight. He was pretty cool about what he was saying.
Check out his Twitter account.
Well, no, since then I guess he started thinking about it. Now he wants to. His latest statement is he's trying to have the result overturned. He's demanding a rematch. He's calling him a cheater.
Right.
He's calling him this. He's calling him that, which I can't stand.
By the way, we won't say what Tyson Fury called him in return because it might get us kicked off the air, but it's kind of funny.
Really? I'm glad he said something like that because Cunningham started all kinds of crap. Him and Eddie Chambers about being guys that are avoided and ripped off and cheated because they're black, and they started throwing that crap. Yeah. That was after the Adamak fight, which I do agree with Cunningham. I thought he won that fight. I think it was close enough, to go either way. But it wasn't because of the color of his skin. It was because he was fighting, in the hometown, so to speak, of the other guy, just like we were talking about with Canelo Alvarez. I mean, that's something that you already knew. And even though Main Events now promotes Cunningham, we knew that was a showcase fight for Tyson Fury. And Cunningham had to know that he was going in that fight as a huge underdog. And I thought he fared well. I actually think, like you said earlier, I think he's been showing actually more pop as a heavyweight than he ever did as a cruiserweight. So I don't know. They're talking about Tyson Fury fighting Kubrat Pulev next for the shot at Klitschko. That was what was a rumor. I thought that the fight with David Hay and Tyson Fury would be made. I thought David Hay's team was waiting for the outcome, and now they're probably drooling over the opportunity to fight Tyson Fury. So it's going to be interesting to see where he goes next. You mentioned that you thought that he was going to take the winner of the Areola Bermane-Stavern fight, but I thought that fight was already the winner of that gets Vitaly Klitschko. So I don't know, man. It's even hard for me to follow who the hell is supposed to fight this one or that one or even the next one. Are you there? Well, I lost Scott. So I got to get Scotty back. He probably hears me. We just apparently lost the other stream, so we knew that was going to happen. So you guys can hang tight while that comes back. So we'll get all of that stuff working here in a second. So as we try to get Scott on the phone because he's probably still talking to us, so we will wait for him to answer. So we'll see what happens there. Unless this just blew out our whole system, that's because UStream sucks. And we're trying to find an alternate, which we have. It's just that we're having some technical difficulties with the sound today. So having a hard time getting Scotty on the line here. So who knows what just took place? It sounds like we had some gremlin or something take over here. So we'll have to wait and see if we can get Scotty back, if we can do anything at this point. So in any event, I will get into some other stuff. And the first thing I'm going to get into is Timothy Bradley is fighting. He's got his next fight all set. And, I was a little uptight about who they were going to pick. And I guess Timothy Bradley now is taking on Juan Manuel Marquez in a fight. So we will see what goes on with that. That's the next fight that they're talking about, September 14th. It was made, I guess, in theory, that the fight was made. They said, Top Rank said that if for some reason Floyd Mayweather fights on the same date, which he has said he was going to, then if that's the case, then they will back out of the fight, and they have an alternate date. They have an alternate date going on right now for the first week of October. So we'll have to wait and see about that. But as it is now, they said if they get an old bait and switch deal where Golden Boy says, yeah, we're going to be doing something with Floyd Mayweather, and then they don't, then they're going to keep that date. If it's strictly Floyd Mayweather, then they are going to move their date. So I guess they don't want to compete. They felt that like last year when they did that, they felt that they don't want to hurt the sport. They don't want to hurt the pay-per-view buys. They don't want to hurt anything except each other, I guess. So if Floyd fights on the 14th, then they're not. That's what they said. But if anybody else decides to fight, then if Golden Boy puts up some kind of other fight or whatever, then they will consider coming back and continuing with their deal. So Timothy Bradley going up against Juan Manuel Marquez, tentatively scheduled for September 14th. It will be a pay-per-view event, and I like it. I mean, Juan Manuel Marquez is 39 years old. He, I guess, was interested in that belt. I mean, that was one of his goals. He wanted to get a fifth belt and be the first Mexican fighter to do so. Timothy Bradley's world welterweight title will be on the line. It's interesting to see some of the comments because last week we heard that it was pretty much a done deal that Mike Alvarado and Manny Pacquiao were going to get it on in October. But according to the latest press release concerning the Timothy Bradley and Juan Manuel Marquez fight, is that Manny Pacquiao is not 100% signed, sealed, and delivered with Mike Alvarado, and he's still considering fighting Bam Bam Rios at some kind of a weight between 140 and 147 pounds. So all of that's going up. It's interesting to see what Juan Manuel Marquez is saying about fighting Manny Pacquiao. His adamant attitude is that I don't have anything else left to prove to Manny Pacquiao. He's taken that knockout win, and that's it. So I'm starting to believe him. I'm starting to believe that he has no interest in fighting Manny Pacquiao for a fifth time. He feels he doesn't have to. Which is kind of strange, in my opinion, because this is a guy that, I mean, you can argue that he won those other fights. I mean, you can. The problem is that the record books show different. So right now it's Manny Pacquiao 2 wins, Juan Manuel Marquez 1 win, and there's 1 draw. I don't know. I still think there's a market for that fight. I'm sorry. I guess I do. I guess maybe I'm the only one. I don't know. But Timothy Bradley against Juan Manuel Marquez, September 14th, tentatively. We'll see what happens. Marquez, 39 years old, 55 wins, 6 losses, and a draw. And, of course, Timothy Bradley, undefeated, 30 wins, no losses, and 12 of his wins coming by knockout. We'll see what happens. I don't know what else to say. I do know that I will say this. Nonito Donaire has had his shoulder surgery and is now saying that not only did he need shoulder surgery, but he needs it on his other shoulder as well. I don't know, man. Maybe it's just me, but my feelings towards Nonito Donaire are rapidly declining. And I also found out that his wife, remember how he was complaining about his wife being pregnant and it affected his training and he couldn't go to his trainer. He had to be trained over the phone and all this other stuff. Well, his wife's not due until July. I was under the impression that, she was ready to give birth to the kid, right? And it affected the training and everything. That's what I thought. I had no idea that this was something that was, not going to be taking place until July. I'm talking about the birth of their baby. So I'm a little shocked at that whole scene. To be honest with you, I really don't know what the deal was with that, and I certainly didn't know what the hell the deal was just now. But we got Scotty back. I don't know, man. Everything just crapped out on me here. The feed, the phone, I don't know, man. It's not even snowing or raining here.
Nah, I don't know what to say, Bill. You got the best show in all of boxing, but the technology just keeps bringing you down, my friend. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
but,
well, I've about had it. Let me tell you.
I know, but you just keep doing what you do because you do a great job. But listen, just to pick up where we left off, one quick point, and then we can move on. The whole thing with Cunningham afterwards. It just it gave a shining example when you compared it to what you saw that evening with Austin Trout. You saw one guy who had a legitimate beef and a legitimate complaint, behave with class and grace and dignity, and showed what a true example of a sportsman is, a good loser. Cunningham has showed the opposite, and I like Steve Cunningham. I've always liked him. I think he's a good guy. I thought he was an outstanding cruiserweight. I thought he did get jobbed quite a few times in his career, but you know what? To complain like he's doing, it just showed that he's not a good loser, and I think he gets a lot of his guys, a lot of his Philadelphia guys around him saying, you know what, that was fair. You were winning the fight. That guy cheated, blah, blah, blah. And it just builds him up, and it gets him to start thinking, yeah, you're right. And I know that people in Philadelphia are going to be mad at me, but, it's this Philadelphian brotherhood. They come into his defense. And what bothers me is that the same people who are complaining and saying, what a the dirty fighter Fury was, that's not boxing, blah, 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 are the same people that will defend their own Philadelphian Bernard Hopkins when he goes in there and he uses his head or his elbows or whatever he needs to use. They'll call it, well, that's boxing. It's a fight. You got to do what you got to do. They'll defend him when he does it, and he wins with those tactics. But, now they're going to complain when those tactics are used against them. This is a fight. How did Roberto Duran win his lightweight title, Bill?
They claim that he hit a low blow. You talking about the Kenny Buchanan fight?
Yeah, he hit him low. Kenny Buchanan to this day says when he takes a piss, he thinks of Roberto Duran because it still hurts. That's how he won the lightweight title. You know what? We could go and we could find I don't know how many fights. And we don't have to go back a century. This last 20, 30 years, how many fights were decided by quote-unquote fouls or rough tactics, or the loser complained, hey, if he hadn't have held me, I would have won, or if he wasn't using this elbow, I would have won, or if he wouldn't have been, that's just part of the fight game, where you're not in tuxedos and fencing swords. This is fighting, and you got to be prepared for that. When you go in there against someone that's that big and that physical, he's going to do it. Don't complain afterwards. Take your loss like a man, and move on. And that's the only thing that really bothered me after that fight, was just how he didn't take his loss like a man, and that's a shame, because he's usually a class guy.
Yeah, well, you know what? They all want another shot at this, a shot at that, and let's talk about a shot at Timothy Bradley, because it was pretty much almost signed, sealed, and delivered. Timothy Bradley is going to be defending his belt against Juan Manuel Marquez. Juan Manuel Marquez is basically saying, hey, the Manny Pacquiao book is closed. He doesn't have anything to prove. It's over. He has no need to fight him. He destroyed him. I mean, I don't know, man. I think there is room for a fifth fight, but I don't have anything against the Timothy Bradley and Juan Manuel Marquez fight. I actually like it. What's your thoughts on all of it?
I think that's a good fight. I wonder how Marquez handles fighting at welterweight. That's another weight class for him, but I think that's a good fight. I think the aggression of Bradley and the counterpunching of Marquez, I think that's a solid matchup. But I want to see another Marquez Pacquiao fight. I think as good as that fourth fight was, it demands a fifth fight. And I was one of the biggest opponents to even having a fourth fight. But now, after what we saw, I think we need a fifth fight. Marquez got shot after shot against Pacquiao when he still had something to prove. Pacquiao really didn't have anything to prove. He could have moved on. He could have gone a different direction. A lot of it is Bob Arum and matching up his fighters and so forth. But Marquez got several opportunities to redeem himself. I'd like to see Pacquiao with the opportunity to come back and redeem himself. We haven't seen it since he lost to Eric Morales. How many years ago in that first fight? We haven't seen Pacquiao have to rebound from a legitimate loss. I don't count the Bradley fight. That was too controversial. But going back to Eric Morales, we haven't seen how Pacquiao is able to come back from a severe loss. He did against Morales with a vengeance. I wonder how he would against Marquez, and I'd like to find out. So hopefully Marquez will change his mind. I don't know if he loses to Bradley, what that does in terms of marketability for another Pacquiao fight. I kind of think that fight's always going to be viable. It's just those two guys, when you put them in the ring, they tend to produce magic, and then they put on good fights. Now Pacquiao's being spoken of fighting either Brandon Rios or Mike Alvarado. So if they get by their next fight, then or even if they don't, who knows? Maybe we'll still get to see a fifth fight. I hope so.
Well, I guess the belt is important to Juan Manuel Marquez. Timothy Bradley, I mean, just an early preview of that fight, Bradley against Juan Manuel Marquez. I mean, you look at this fight, and of course we saw the war that Prodagnikov and Timothy Bradley were in, and you say to yourself, is it going to be something similar? Because with a guy like Juan Manuel Marquez, it's something that Prodagnikov didn't do, and that's hit accurately, with a counterpunch. I mean, he was kind of wild in there, winging punches. And I think that if Juan Manuel Marquez gets Timothy Bradley in some kind of trouble, he's going to be much more effective with finishing the job. I mean, is this a dangerous fight, do you think, for Timothy Bradley?
Sure. I think it could be similar to the first Juan Diaz, Juan Manuel Marquez fight. Marquez is a guy, you get him in trouble, you better be careful, because he's a veteran. I mean, he's seen it all. He's been through it all. Prodagnikov was kind of new to that situation. I think it's a tough fight for Bradley, but I wonder how Marquez can handle welterweight. Will he be slower? Will his reflexes, not be quite as sharp? You keep moving up. Eventually, there comes a point when you're just not as effective. And
Well, he already-
I wonder if welterweight will be that weight for Marquez.
Well,
I
he
guess,
fought-
we'll have to wait and see.
But he fought Pacquiao pretty much at welterweight, and he fought Floyd pretty much at welterweight. So, I mean, he's been there before, and he looked like a beast against come on, the guy. I was shocked that he tested negative, to be honest with you. I'm glad he did. But I was shocked, you know. I mean, the guy looked like, he looked like the Crusher from Bugs Bunny, you know, and it was all upper body, and he looks slow and sluggish, and he lands one punch that, pretty much almost kills Manny Pacquiao. And prior to that, Manny Pacquiao was putting on a old Manny Pacquiao-esque kind of performance. I mean, he was beating the hell out of Juan Manuel Marquez. I mean, he was nailing him with these shots that I had no understanding of why Juan Manuel Marquez didn't even go take a step back. And then, after the fight, I'm saying to myself, oh, God, he's going to test positive. He's going to test positive. He's going to test positive. And he didn't. But then again, they weren't really testing for anything, so who knows? And he is pushing the envelope at 39. And Timothy Bradley, I've always liked Timothy Bradley. I think that Timothy Bradley's gotten a bad rap. He's had to defend himself for no reason. I don't know. I think it's an interesting fight, especially to see what Juan Manuel Marquez shows up.
No, I agree. And you're right. I'd forgotten that he fought Matt Pacquiao. That was at welterweight and not junior welterweight. So it is an interesting fight. He did look physically much different than he had. So whatever he was doing, I think certainly worked. Marquez Bradley's a good fight. I don't mind that fight at all. I just I hope we don't get that instead of a fifth fight, because I just think a fifth fight, I don't know that it ever finishes it, you know what I mean? But I'd like to see a little more closure. I don't know that knockout of Pacquiao, it's closure for Marquez, but I don't think it's closure for Pacquiao. I don't think it's closure for a lot of fans of those two fighters. I think I would like to see one more, and let's see if that was just an anomaly, or if if Pacquiao can come back from that loss, if Marquez can repeat it. And it wasn't just the knockout. It was a great fight up to that point, and all of their fights have been pretty darn good. So let's do it one more time, regardless of what happens. But Marquez Bradley's a good fight. I don't mind that at all.
Well, here's the thing: it's 2-1 and a draw. So theoretically, if Juan Manuel Marquez comes back and wins a fifth fight, now you could even argue and say, well, you need a sixth one, because right now it's even, and we need a decider, we need a tiebreaker. Here's the thing. I think the chances of Juan Manuel Marquez fighting Manny Pacquiao again, especially since, he's been so vocal about it, are slim to none unless Manny Pacquiao regains a title. Let's just quickly, we got about less than a minute, let's quickly look at it this way. If Timothy Bradley beats Juan Manuel Marquez and he fails to get his welterweight belt, his fifth world title, and then somewhere along the line Manny Pacquiao wins a welterweight title back, whether it be Timothy Bradley's when they have a rematch or whatever, now Pacquiao's got a welterweight belt. That might entice Juan Manuel Marquez to come back for the fifth fight. What's your quick thoughts?
I totally agree. I think it's going to take something like that to entice him into that fight. I don't think he's just going to do it out of honor and wanting to give Pacquiao another chance. I think it's going to have to be worth something. And if Pacquiao has a belt, and if Marquez should happen to lose to Bradley and Pacquiao beat Bradley, like you said, and he has a belt, he has another shot at this fifth title, then I think, that may be the motivation to get it done. But, it will require something a little more than just, hey, how about giving us a fifth fight because we want it?
Right. And I think something like $10 or $15 million might change his mind, too.
That might help a little.
Scott, it was a pleasure hanging up on you. Just a little tear came in my eye. It really reminds me of the good old days when we didn't even have the Progresso Supercan phone system. So hopefully we'll have some fun. I got to talk to you about some stuff. If you get some time today, give me a call. We got some great stuff going on next week, and I need to talk to you about that and some other things. So give me a shout later, and until next time, Keep your head up.
Hey,
man.
no problem. Kill those hamsters, will you? They're just not doing their job.
That's it. They're fired, man. They're fired. I'm going to be like what's his name? You're fired. Donald Trump. You're fired, hamsters. But anyway, Scott, I'll talk to you later, my man.
Take care, Bill.
All right, that's Scotty Krause doing a great job. Hey, listen, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, Alex Papali is scheduled to join us. All of that's coming up in about 2.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
Broadcasting in all corners of the globe, on the web and radio.
He would scoff at a stretcher, that man, I would
think. You're listening to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. From upstate New York and the good old US of A.
Boxing is here to stay because we are here to stay.
The best 2 hours of boxing talk on the airwaves.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. And tell him Billy C sent ya.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C, the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C, damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Test 1 2. Test 1 2. My fellow Americans, good evening. Welcome back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It's great to be here discussing the sweet science with everybody. I love boxing. I love talking boxing. It's what I do.
Bill.
Wait, what?
Bill.
Why are you interrupting me? What?
Wrong.
What's the problem?
Billy, C.
I did not have...
We're gonna have to ask you.
Wrong speech. What do you mean wrong, Billy C? What's going on here? Fine, I'll go. I just wanted to talk some boxing on TPSradio.net. That's all I wanted to do. I don't need your damn show. I'll get my own talking wrestling with the other Billy C. Yeah, that sounds good. I've always been a Hulkamaniac anyway.
Broadcasting live, brother. Welcome back to Talking Boxing with Billy C. on the mighty TPSradio.net, brother. What you gonna do, brother?
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. Hopefully you're listening to it. I guess we're having some sound issues, but I will tell you this. Nobody's having any problems on Fight Now. If you don't have Fight Now on your sports channel lineup, you need to call your local television provider and tell them that you want the Fight Now channel added to your sports channel lineup right now. Here's the thing. We got some verbiage for you from the bigwigs at Fight Now. They said the best thing to do is when you call your local television provider, whether it's satellite dish or cable, you ask them, you say, I want to add Fight Now sports channel to my sports channel lineup. And they're going to say, okay, if they have it available, which a lot of the TV providers do, then they add it and you're set. If they say, oh, no, we don't have that channel, that's when you have to say, and I quote, well, I would like to put a formal request for that channel on my sports channel lineup. And then the customer service person will click the right tab that she needs or he needs to do and get that back to the provider so they will add Fight Now. So why don't you do that? Now, we know Fight Now is working great. You know, we're having some streaming issues and stuff. we're experimenting with some other streams and stuff, so we got that going on. But thank God to the Fight Now viewers that come into the chat room and be part of the show. So we're happy about that. Want to welcome a new guy to the Fight Now channel and to our chat room, Niham Faryu, and I probably just murdered your name, and I apologize for that. So I'm going to deflect that a little bit and get my man Alex Papali on the line, who's a real comedian today. Yeah, we're going to be doing some more silent boxing news. You don't think I saw that little comment? What are you stabbing me in the back real quick or what, man?
I wish that you could explain to me again how I should request the channel. That
you don't like the? Didn't I just?
I need that.
Come on, man. Come on. I didn't just.
Complicated.
Let me explain, because you're the reason, man. Because not you, but Comcast, which is your lovely provider, they're the ones that we have to do this specific procedure. You got to call them and you have to say, well, when they say, wow, we don't have it, because Comcast, they don't have it available. They don't have Fight Now. So that's when you say, well, I want to put in a request for that channel.
I've done that twice.
Really? And they still don't know what
you're
doing?
myself.
Well, you better do it twice a day is what you need to do, Alex. But anyway, Alex Papali is here to give us our weekly blast from the past, which is sponsored by the International Boxing Organization, where their computerized ranking system is second to none. Check them out, iboboxing.com. And today you picked a guy we both love. I mean, and unfortunately you didn't get to meet him because he was too busy. Well, I'll leave that one out. But Greg Haugen, former world champion, he's actually a world lightweight, junior welterweight, and I'm even going to give him credit for being a welterweight world champion, is Greg Haugen. And tell us about this guy, man.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever gotten a chance to meet him. I think he is somebody who goes to Canastota quite a bit, and I just don't think our paths have ever quite crossed. But hopefully this year, if he's up there, I'll get a chance to bump into him.
Is he going this year? Did he say he's going this year?
I don't know, but I'll definitely send him a link for this show later. So maybe I'll talk to him later today.
Well, he's not too crazy about. I won't mention any names, but the Brophies.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I've seen. I know that he's been there before. Like I'll get to Graziano's and he'll have just left or something, or he'll go into that back room where they're inaccessible. But he's usually a lot more accessible than some of the other guys. But anyway, yeah, Greg Haugen. This was definitely a TV fighter, and I think maybe that's what in the '80s. That's one of the things that made some of these guys real fan friendly, is that they fought on network TV a lot, and so they generated an audience. And Greg Haugen was no exception to that, of course. He was born in Auburn, Washington. This is Washington State, mind you. So we're talking the Pacific Northwest. And was born on August 31st, 1960. And he has sort of an interesting beginning.
Wait, I want to interrupt you for a second. I want to ask you a question, because you just confirmed that he was born in Auburn, Washington, and I know he currently lives in the same state. But somewhere along the line, I heard that ESPN rated him as the best fighter to ever come out of Alaska. Where's the connection to Alaska?
Yeah, now, I don't know why he ended up there, but as a young man, that's where he was working. He was working as a sheet metal worker there in Anchorage, Alaska. And he was 26 when it looks like he started his pro career. And as an amateur, I would assume he was an amateur. That part I didn't really get to clarify, was whether he was amateur in Washington State or an amateur in Anchorage. But a lot of guys do that, where they go, once they hit like 17 or 18, go to Anchorage just to start to get work. So maybe that was the case with him. But whatever the reason, he was there as a young man, and one of the things he was doing was they had these little, basically tough man competitions in some of the local bars there, and they put tough man bouts together, around 5 o'clock. Whoever would get there, they'd match up the guys, everybody weigh in. And then these were fights where, you know, maybe a 135-pound guy would go against a 175-pound guy. And Greg Haugen ended up fighting a lot of bigger men that way. And, you know, maybe a guy'd be 195, but Haugen would take him on. And they'd get out there, and the bell would ring, and they'd start fighting. And then they'd start seeing the combination punching from Haugen, and they know, oh, boy, I'm in against a ringer. And maybe one of those big guys would give him a tough round or two. But then once he tired them out, Haugen could come on and beat them. He was a very scrappy fighter, not a huge puncher, but a consistent pressuring type of a fighter. And like I said, very engaging, fun style to watch.
You're right about the era he was in. He was on television a lot, and scrappy is the best word to describe Greg Haugen. You know, he's always been one of my favorite fighters, and even as I got to know him, you know, out of the ring, you know, talking with him and stuff over the last several years, I like him even more. You know, because he's a no nonsense guy. You know, he kind of gets ticked off when, you know, a fighter comes into the gym or something and you know, isn't manly like he was and you know, doesn't have the fighter mentality like he does. And, you know, I mean, he's just, I don't know, that breed, that mindset just seems to be missing in the sport today. Yeah, we may have better athletes in the sport, but we don't have Greg Haugens anymore, you know, and we had so many, and Greg was just one of several that, you know, just, I don't know, man. He's the kind of fighter we really miss in the sport of boxing.
I think you bring up a good point. I think he's the kind of guy with that ham and egger sort of lunch pail mentality that stepped onto that elite level. And I think there's an honesty about those kind of fighters that people can't help but be enamored with. Fernando Vargas had that kind of thing, and I think Greg Haugen was cut from that same kind of mold.
Yeah, no, you're right. And, you know, there were several back then. You know, his nemesis, you know, Vinny Pazienza was similar. You know, I mean, those two guys.
Very different in terms of styles, but you're right, their work ethic was similar.
Right. Well, no, totally different in styles, but scrappy and you know, lunch pail, blue collar fighter. You know, that was the same. You know, and I think if you got those two guys in a ring right now, they would want to get it on.
They probably still would.
I remember talking to both of them. One of the last interviews we had with Greg, I think it followed an interview with Vinny Pazienza, and I mentioned, we just talked to Vinny, and he's like, you know, he was mad. You know, he's like ready to fight him now. You know, and it's kind of funny. He termed the phrase Tijuana taxi cab drivers, which was pretty funny at the time, and now we use it a lot. He also told me, I asked him one time, what was the only fight, if he regretted any of his fights, and you know, he had 10 losses in his career. He only regrets one fight, and that was the Julio Cesar Chavez fight. He said that, you know, and that was the fight, if you recall, was in a stadium. I think there was 100,000 people there, you know, and he said
130. Yeah.
130, yeah. You know, he said that the reason why he regrets that fight, and if he could do it all over again, was because he didn't prepare himself the way he should have for that fight. And, you know, as he looks at it now, he felt that he would have had a good shot at winning that fight if he was 100% prepared. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that was probably the night that, in terms of the world stage, that was one of the biggest stage he was ever on. And yes, he claims that he was not in shape for that fight, and it is still. I mean, he still fought his heart out, and it's definitely a classic to watch just because of the atmosphere. He does give a very valiant effort, but this is Julio Cesar Chavez, not quite at his peak. Maybe he's just coming a little off his peak, but it's definitely up there. I mean, that's the unfortunate thing for Greg Haugen, is that he came around in an era where there was two guys that were just too big of mountains to climb for him. One was Julio Cesar Chavez. The other was Pernell Whitaker. And there's absolutely no disgrace in losing to either one of those guys. And like you said, his biggest regret, of course, is the Chavez fight. And I think that that's one that you could argue maybe if he was in shape, it maybe would have played out a little differently. But it certainly would have been a huge task, no matter what shape he came in, because we know what Chavez was always like in terms of being, a force of nature, the way he fought. Add to that the incredibly hostile environment, and that would have been a very tough outing, no matter what. But yeah, he thinks of. I found an interview on YouTube. He thinks of his first fight with Camacho as one of his greatest victories.
Yeah, it could have been. It definitely could have been. He fought so many great fighters. Go down the list. Look who he's fought.
Yeah, the first fight with Vinny Pazienza, I remember watching, and that being very exciting. That was a very close loss, and the AP thought he won, actually. It was a split decision, and I believe it was a 15-round decision. That's another thing. He's in the era where they were switching from 15-rounders to 12. So he is one of those fighters who, still had 15-round victories.
Yeah, well, that's a whole thing that's still under discussion, and I don't know. Just jumping off Greg Haugen for a second, did you catch that new movie that's going to be coming out about Boom Boom Mancini? Did you catch the previews on that? And that part of the movie is that he's going to go meet the son of Kim.
No, wow,
yeah,
that sounds
yeah. It looks like a combination of a story, like a storyline, maybe like a reality TV type of thing, or maybe a movie. But basically, I saw some prelims on it saying, he's at the top of the game. He was ready to, really bust into stardom, and then, the Kim tragedy happened, and he changed him forever, and it really did. It didn't help that he fought Bramble after that, and, the lunatic Bramble put Kim on his trunks. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that, those fights with Bramble. But anyway, Greg Haugen.
Yeah, Haugen was the man who retired Ray Mancini.
Yeah, well, Greg Haugen was a guy that didn't back away from anybody when you think about it. He fought a lot of tough fighters. You mentioned Mancini and Hector Camacho, also the Vinny Pazienza fights and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. and the list goes on and on and on. He was a real tough guy.
That Kronk fighter Jimmy Paul.
Yeah, James Paul. That's right. He fought him. He was a good fighter. He was a world champion.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. And that was where Haugen won his first title. And then, unfortunately, the next fight was against Vinny Paz. And I remember that atmosphere that was a fight that was on Saturday afternoons. It was a really dramatic fight. And it was right there in Providence, Rhode Island, and it was another close one. And like I said, the AP did think he won. And in the second one, just a short while later, 8 months later, they fought again in Atlantic City, and in that one, Haugen he beat him. And in that fight, Pazienza had his moments, but it was the steady pressure of Haugen that really prevailed.
Yeah, well, Greg Haugen, we miss him in the sport of boxing. There's no doubt about that. Former world lightweight, junior welterweight, and a world welterweight champion. He won the WBF's world welterweight title. He's actually in the World Boxing Hall of Fame and in the inaugural Billy C. Boxing Hall of Fame, which, incidentally, guess what? We may have found a location to do the next one, which is going to be great, and you and I will chat about that. We didn't get to do it this year, but that didn't mean it's never going to be done again. So I'll chat about that with you. But Greg Haugen, great.
Well, that's the thing about Greg Haugen is that with the Billy C. Boxing Hall of Fame mentality, there is that he's the kind of guy that I'm sure he's got some great stories. There is a clip on YouTube where he's reminiscing about the Camacho fights, and one of the things I think your listeners get a kick out of was how Camacho was so flashy. Well, that he, like I said, he thinks of that as one of his biggest victories, and he had thought that he had heard rumors that Camacho was having a hard time making weight, so his plan was to jump right on him. And it confirmed it when he got to the weigh-in, where he saw Camacho get on the scale in a little leopard G-string.
I remember that.
Camacho actually had to strip it off in order to make weight, and I guess he was soaking wet, so it looked like he had just come out of the sauna. And Haugen knew at that point, I'm jumping right on him.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember when he had to take that G-string off. Funny stuff. But Greg Haugen, he's what I like in a fighter. Both when he was in the ring during his active career and now. I love chatting with him, and I'd love to go out and have a few pops with him for sure. Former world lightweight, junior welterweight world champion, Billy C. Boxing Hall of Famer, 40 wins, 19 come by knockout. He's got 10 losses on his career, stopped only 3 times. He does have a draw and a couple of no contests, 53 total fights, 443 rounds as a pro with a 36% knockout ratio. Greg Haugen, a blast from the past. Great job as usual. Alex, now I got to get your thoughts on a couple of things. Number one, real quick, the 2 big fights from last week. What's your thoughts on, first, Canelo Alvarez beating Austin Trout, and then second, the Tyson Fury fight over Steve USS Cunningham?
I thought the Trout Canelo fight was the biggest anticlimax of the year, probably, and I think that was largely due to the open scoring, which I think is an abomination. And not only that, I think everything that I would echo everything that you and Scotty Krause were just talking about, that the whole atmosphere really contributed to making it a letdown, in the sense that not only did you have the open scoring, which took the air out of the room as far as, well, now we know mathematically Austin Trout can't do anything here. And not only that, but it illustrated the fact that these scores are out of whack in the first place, which is what a lot of us expected because of Texas. I thought the fight was a lot closer than it looked on paper, but even myself, once I heard the open scoring, I stopped scoring round by round because it almost didn't matter. It was another one of these situations where Trout was definitely doing the leading and throwing more punches, but the one landing the more significant punches, even though they were fewer, was Canelo. I don't know mathematically if he prevailed. I think I would assume it was Dax. I think scored it 114, 113. I saw that on the Billy C. Boxing Twitter feed, and that didn't surprise me. I think that's a good score. But again, like I said, I stopped doing it mathematically, so I'm not sure. And I think the fact that, like what you and Scott were just saying, the way Trout was so classy in defeat, it's an unfortunate thing all around. But I do think Canelo looked decent. I wish he pushed the action a little more.
Yeah, Canelo didn't push the action because he didn't have to. He didn't have to because of the open scoring.
Right, and that was lame.
And on one hand, you can't blame him. If when I put my manager hat on or whatever, and I'm looking at a scorecard that virtually all I got to do is get my fighter to the end of the round, and it's a substantial fight, it's a unification fight, it's all these things that all the implications around this fight. I don't know if I'd do anything different, Alex. And that's what sucks about open scoring. And I agree. I only had Trout winning by 1 round. Canelo winning by 1 round. I thought that he did win the fight because he landed the harder punches. I thought Trout landed a lot more punches, there's no question, but that falls into what I've said many, many times, that, yeah, we all know the criteria, but every judge is obviously scoring a fight with the emphasis on different criteria. If it's only about punches landed, then Trout wins that fight. With the knockdown, he wins the fight. As far as the scorecards, well, first of all, I've been in a situation where I kind of critique the announcing teams. that was by far the worst that I've ever seen, even out of my man Al Bernstein. Everybody just had a really off night. I really think that Ranello Morello, or whatever his name is terrible for the broadcast. He just, his yelling and screaming and shouting and that radio voice it just throws everything off. But Paulie Malignaggi said it best. He says that judge, after the 8th round, when he had it a shutout, he says that judge might as well not even watch the fight. He might as well go to the bathroom. He already filled out his scorecard, and he was right.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, he hit it on the head, and I was glad that they didn't pull the punches. But another strange thing that I noticed during the broadcast was that they were all, as a matter of factly, discussing how rotten the Texas Commission and everything surrounding it is. And you say to yourself, just like the emailer this morning, why do these networks bring it there? Why do promoters even go to Texas? And it has to be because they know when they're going to get the favor of that awful commission.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's the sad reality of what we have going on now, is that whoever is, the promoter that's going to be bringing the card there is the one that's looking, not so. It's very hard to say because nothing's on the up and up. It's just that it's so easy to predict that that's what's going to happen. But it does look like, the promoter's hoping for some professional courtesy from the officials. That's what they get. In terms of a ticket, it's a hot ticket. I mean, the place was packed, so it's financially lucrative. That's a little redundant there, but I don't know. It's disappointing, and I think that's one of the things that I think that Al Bernstein. I think maybe part of it was the reality of the situation was that he didn't want to come out and say, look, this is a bit of a stinker. It's not really our fault. It's the way that the system works here, and remember the Alamo Dome doesn't mean what it used to mean. Remember the Alamo Dome now means for how twisted of a deal it's going to be. And I guess that is what we think of when we think of the Alamo Dome, because that's what's happened in some of the biggest fights there, of course, with Chavez and Whitaker. That it was just one fighter and his promotional team given the scroogey to the other, and that is what we saw again.
Yeah, there's no question. And like I said, I really don't think that there shouldn't be an outroar in the fact that Canelo won the fight. No. I think that what makes it all of a sudden, because people have said robbery, robbery, which it wasn't a robbery. Anytime you have a close fight that could, like in my opinion, I wouldn't have argued any decision, whether it was Canelo, whether it was Trout, or even if it was a draw. I wouldn't have said it was a robbery. I thought it was that close. But then to hear the scorecards and to hear that specifically the one judge who gave every round with the exception of one to Canelo, and you say to yourself, what the hell fight was he watching? This is the guy that's getting paid to judge a fight, and it's just terrible, and we've seen that so often. Forget Texas; we know we see it there, but we see it in a lot of other places, which is sickening. Speaking of which, again, the New York State Athletic Commission is a home to some scrutiny because your boy, your idol, your favorite referee, Ed Claudio. FYI, he did say, "Let's get popping." He was in front of a television camera, so he did use his TV coined phrase, and then he did a stupid thing, Alex, in that Curtis Stevens fight. He ruled a knockdown, which, by the way, when I saw the replay, I too think it was a knockdown when it happened. A punch was landed. Yes, it was a tangled footwork, but when a punch lands, you get the knockdown, in my opinion. He scores a knockdown, rules a knockdown, counts to 8. Lets the fighters continue, and then after the round goes over and says, "Oh, by the way, that wasn't a knockdown."
That was weird.
That is how can that? How first of all, how I'm not going to blame a referee because a referee has no problem and should never be criticized for missing a close call for that. In other words, whether we look at the replay or not and we see that he was right or wrong and he makes the wrong decision, his job is to make a decision and stay by it at that time. If he ruled a knockdown and it turned out to be a slip, you know what? If somebody asked him about it, he says, hey, I missed that one. I'll try and do better next time. I'm cool with that. I would never criticize him for admitting that he made a mistake, ever, in a million years. But to do what he did, it shows me that he's not decisive with his decisions. And how can you do that? He altered the round. He counted.
Right. And why did he do it? Was it just, did he just have a second thought? Or did he look at a replay? That, yeah, you're absolutely right. That was strange. Because usually vacillating is something a referee wants to avoid more than getting something wrong. A referee sometimes will stick to their guns on a wrong call rather than admit they made a mistake.
Well, they should stick to even if they admit they made a mistake, it's less egg on your face than doing what he did. Because as far as I'm concerned, there's room for Derek Finley's team to protest that result. And because he forever changed he altered that fight. And I'll give you a couple of reasons. Number one, he by giving an 8 count, you change the mentality, the thought process of Finley. Now he thinks he's got his fighter in trouble. He's going to go after him, all right? They changed their game plan. They think they just gained a point. The fight all of a sudden becomes closer. The trainers and everything, they're thinking about the game plan while the round is still going on. And next thing you know, the round is over, and the referee comes over and says, by the way, that wasn't a knockdown. Well, wait a minute. What happened to those, 15 seconds or so that clicked off the clock that you'll never get back? What about Curtis Stevens, who, was under the risk of being knocked out because of a guy that was going to come after him? And, and then for the commission to allow it, I just don't get it. To me, that was bizarre.
Yeah, it was strange because I definitely wondered what it was that made him change his mind. Did someone shout, that wasn't a knockdown? Did he catch a replay? Was just weird.
Crazy.
But I tell you, the thing that was most memorable from that card was the Tyson Fury fight. I mean, that was a lot of fun. And I think the reason why, yes, a lot of people are slamming Tyson Fury, he's got no skill, he just used his size. Yeah, he's a heavyweight. I think he did what he should do. And I think that for a while, at least, Steve Cunningham was very classy about it. I think since then he's gotten to be complaining a bit. But I thought that you definitely saw that there's vulnerabilities in Tyson Fury. I think a guy like Bryant Jennings can probably beat him right now. And I think if Tyson Fury's people are smart, they're going to try to avoid him because he could certainly get a Klitschko shot without fighting a dangerous guy like that. But and I think what you said, David Hay would take him apart as well. But I tell you, lots and lots of fun, dramatic, entertaining fight. The guy's got a big mouth, but hey, let's watch it.
I agree. He's got a big mouth, but it's fun. I know that's your top 10 favorite song he sung. I just want to know what the meaning of it.
Yeah, that was something. He's no Kelly Clarkson.
No. But I like Tyson Fury, but he definitely showed us some weaknesses and stuff. And but I agree with everything you said. It was entertaining. I love some of these guys. Say, well, if he wasn't as big as he was, if he was a middleweight, he wouldn't be that good. Yeah, no kidding.
Right. Exactly.
And that's my whole point about the Klitschkos. That's my whole point about those guys. If you keep their skill set and you lower them down to 160 pounds, they're not as dominating. End of story.
I disagree with you a little bit.
How? Let me just ask you this: Vladimir Klitschko. We know as a heavyweight, he's got a great jab. He's got power in his right hand. Okay. And that's it. He doesn't have footwork. He doesn't have much defensive ability. He's in shape all the time. So let's take a chiseled guy in shape with a super-duper jab and a shockingly powerful right hand, even though, in my opinion, his hand isn't even as powerful as it should be, considering his size. And you move that into the middleweight division.
Right. You'd have a guy like, a prime Kelly Pavlik, and that was enough to be champion. So I would say,
Well, Kelly Pavlik at least had some head movement. He had a little bit of defense. He had more than just a jab and a right hand. He could work the body pretty well. So I don't know. You're
underrating the Klitschko's a little bit. I mean, I think that Vladimir especially has. He does have some skills. I mean, he was a gold medalist. I don't know. I mean, I guess going to the body is something they don't tend to do, and that's probably mostly because of the size. They don't get that close.
Well, Vitali is a little more athletic. He showed us that in the St. Peter fight, where he was throwing a lot of punches and moving around and stuff like that. But still, I mean, I'm sorry. They're effective because of what they are. It's the same argument that you say, well, if Mike Tyson was 6'7", he wouldn't have been Mike Tyson. There's some truth to that. He wouldn't have had, the bobbing and weaving style, or if he did, nobody would have ever touched the guy. The guy would still be fighting. But anyway, Nonito Donaire is really continuing his complaints and everything, and I found out, you obviously know we're not taking a break here, and we're keeping you for a few extra minutes, and I found out that with all the discussion that was going on about the Rigondeaux-Donaire fight a couple weeks ago, they said, his wife was pregnant, he couldn't go to training, he had to do training over the phone, and I was like, oh my God, but I was under the impression, Alex, that she was ready to pop this kid out, man, and the bottom line is she's not doing till July. What's up with that, man?
Oh, really? Wow.
Did you you didn't even know that either, right?
Yeah, I would think that the earlier part of the pregnancy, he doesn't have as many demands, but maybe that, I don't know what his home life's like.
Yeah, maybe he had to run out to get the banana split with the cheesecake, craving, or I don't know, man, but I know you love Nonito Donaire, but I'm starting to quickly lose respect for him. He seems like just a crybaby whiner to me. I don't know. But,
I do like him, and I am very disappointed in a lot of the excuse making that seems to have no end here.
God.
And some of it is just, it's one thing to say, I underestimated this guy, which I think that's a major factor of what happened. But he's never said that. All he's done is blame other things.
Yeah, well, that's his MO. He's been doing that for a long time, and we'll have to wait and see. This weekend, brother, we got some really good fights. I know you're a big fan of Sergio Martinez. It seems like he hasn't been in the ring forever. They're calling this the homecoming. He's fighting in Argentina in front of his home country, I think for the first time in a real long time, over maybe a decade even. He's taking on Martin Murray, who is not exactly a walkover opponent, but shouldn't pose any problem for Martinez. He's predicting a knockout. How do you see this one going?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Sergio, and I hope he gets a nice signature win here for his hometown crowd there in Buenos Aires. I do Martin Murray. I don't know a lot about. I know he's a big, strong middleweight. So like what was it? 2 fights back, where Martinez had another big, strong. Was it Macklin? Matthew Macklin, where he's both those fights. Darren Barker and Matthew Macklin was where he was fighting a big, strong guy. Well, I guess you could add Chavez Jr. to that too. I mean, they're all bigger than him, middleweights that are larger than Sergio, but Sergio beats him with combinations and speed, and I think that's what we're going to see again. Murray is, a little bit untested. He has the win over Felix Sturm, or no, what was it, a draw? But sometimes a draw with Sturm is a win. So I like to see Martinez looking really good. The fight that I think is a little more exciting this weekend actually is Danny Garcia versus Zab Judah. I think that fight is within reach for Zab Judah if he comes in great shape and has a really good night. It's one of those nights that he could really reinvigorate his career if he wins.
Yeah, that fight. It's funny you say that you have so much interest in that fight. That's my least interested fight, because I have no regard for Zab Judah anymore. I think that Danny Garcia is going to rough him up. I think he's going to knock him out. So.
Yeah, it could be. That you're very right. I mean that's what we've seen Danny Garcia do with a couple of guys. And I think surprisingly, the way he manhandled Amir Khan, that was impressive.
Yeah, no, there's no question. We'll have to wait and see. Amir Khan is fighting. He's fighting Julio the Kid Diaz. I think that's
going to be on a delay on Showtime, or is that because it looks like Showtime is showing that after Garcia Judah? So wouldn't that have to be on a delay? It's taking place in the UK, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a same night delayed broadcast. They're
I hate when they do that, because with the Twitterverse now, it's very hard to keep yourself away from the results.
Keep your hands away from your Twitter account.
Yeah, but see, if you want to tweet about the other fights, you can't help but looking at your feed.
Well, not all of us are tweethearts like you, man. But hey, you know what? When I'm trying to DVR a fight, I don't even turn on the computer because of that reason. And you're right. You just can't get away.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be away. I'm going to Chicago to visit my little nephew, and there's also a comic convention I'm going out to. So I'm actually only going to be able to see one of those fights live. I'm pretty sure it's the Martinez fight, because the hotel I'm staying at only has HBO.
So that might be easier for you. Just don't get on the Twitter. The heavyweight fight between Chris Arreola and Bermain Stavern, I know it's scheduled, but until they actually get in the ring and fight,
right.
Yeah, it's been rescheduled 3 times. But it's an interesting fight because Chris Arreola had gotten himself into pretty decent shape. And, he was staying busy. He was fighting every couple of months. And all of a sudden, we haven't seen him. So I really don't know if he's in good shape. The last publicity shot I saw of him, he looked older. He really aged. And he just looked totally different. He had some hair. He just didn't look the same. Bermain Stavern, in my opinion, is just, I think he's overrated, to tell you the truth. I don't know who he's fought. So this is a pretty questionable fight there. Do you have a pick?
Not really. I think that I would agree with everything you just said, and my expectations are very low. And I do think, especially coming off the high of, in terms of heavies at least, of Fury versus Cunningham, it's, when heavyweight boxing is ugly, there's nothing like it. Nothing's uglier.
That's true.
So hopefully they'll entertain. But, of course, the stinkeroo factor is always a possibility when you have heavyweights on a card. That's the thing about them. When they're good, they're really good. But when they're bad, they're terrible.
Well, one fight that may be a lot closer than people think is the Kid Chocolate Peter Quinlan fight against Fernando Guerrero.
Looking forward to that one.
Guerrero was a guy that was on a fast track, man. He was, he's real big in Maryland. It was selling out crowds and was an exciting fighter to watch and everything. And then he met, I think Grady Brewer was the guy who stopped him and stopped him right in his tracks and sidelined his career. Now he's built it back up carefully, and this is a big test. Peter Quinlan is a guy that can show some pop, and he shows he's got a strong beard, but there's a lot of holes in his game, and I don't know, man. This fight might be there for the taking for Guerrero. Do you think he's got a chance?
Yeah, I definitely do. I do think I think that's going to be that's probably the sleeper of the weekend in the sense that you kind of have questions about it on paper, and it might surprise you. That's definitely what happened with it was. Quillen's last fight out was against the Hinjam, that fight with all the knockdowns.
Oh, I love that fight. It's just
or something.
Yeah. I love that guy, man. I want to see more of him.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Peter Quillen is that he's I hate to say this about a person, but he's he seems very forgettable. But every time, at least lately, the times he comes to the ropes, you're like, wow, how come we don't see more of this guy? So hopefully this will be the case again this weekend. And, like we've been saying here with these guys that Sergio's been fighting, Quillen is a big, strong middleweight. So I do think that, the middleweights tend to be made up of guys that are junior middles that have bulked up a bit, and I think that's what we see in the current champion. And then other guys that are more like light heavyweights who dry out, and that's what we see in, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., who's like a cruiserweight who dries out. But I do think that that's what you get, the mix of guys you get in the middleweights, and I think Peter Quillen is one of the guys that's more on the bigger side. So if he wins, we know that Martinez is not going to be around forever. We could be looking at one of the guys who's a future, titleist in the division.
He's got to wait for Chavez Jr. Martinez rematch first, because that's probably going to be the next fight. But anyway, Alex, great job with the blast, and I appreciate your thoughts on the fights from last week and your thoughts and predictions on the ones scheduled for this week. We're in a pretty good stretch here, and next week we're going to be doing this show at a different time, and who knows, it may be our new time. So and I know you're bummed out about that because
Alex loves the PM.
Yeah, I know I was going to say the last thing you wanted was me to tell you, hey, we're going to be doing it from 5 to 7 p.m. now. So I know.
One thing I do want to say though also is I do like Julio Diaz to beat Amir Khan.
Really?
Yeah, I
really.
do.
I made that fight as not even competitive, and you think the kid is going to beat him, huh?
I think he has a very good chance.
Why? Give me now. Now you got to tell me why.
I'm really impressed with Amir Khan. I think he's always been a bit of a creation, and I think that he's fallen flat a few times, and I think he's got a guy who he thinks is shot, and Julio Diaz is tough. He's polished enough and well-rounded enough that I don't think he's going to make mistakes that Amir Khan, usually takes advantage of. And I think without Freddie Roach, Khan might be different now. I just don't like that fight for him. I think Julio Diaz is going to win a decision.
Wow. Well, sounds good, man. We'll have to wait and see. The big underdog pick for Alex Papali.
There you go.
All right. Jeez. All right. Well, good.
Hey, I got no problem being wrong though, so don't get too upset.
Oh, me neither. Me neither. I've made a career out of it, I think. But Alex, great job, and glad to have you stick around a little longer. We look forward to having you on next week, man.
All right, Billy C. Take care.
All right, brother. Take care. That's Alex Papali, and doing what he always does best, our blast from the past, as well as giving us some thoughts on some other stuff. Speaking of other stuff, I got to give you guys a program reminder. And this is for all the live viewers and listeners, as well as people that sometimes maybe don't get a chance to watch the show or listen to the show because you got that thing that's called, what's it called? Oh, yeah, a job. And, the bottom line is this. All next week we're doing a special broadcast of the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. It's going to be wrapped around the big fight. You know what fight I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Floyd Mayweather and Robert DeGoes Guerrero fight, which is taking place May 4th. Well, starting Monday, this Monday, coming up, the next Monday you get to on the calendar after today, starting Monday, we're going to be broadcasting this show from 5 to 7 p.m. Normally it's 5:30, 7:30 a.m., but no, we're going to be broadcasting next week from 5 to 7 p.m., Monday through Friday. We're going to do mostly, we are going to be talking about our normal stuff, but we're going to do mostly discussion on the big fight and the undercard and all that stuff. We have a slew of guests scheduled to join us live from Las Vegas and around, so we'll be getting their thoughts on the big fight. We also are going to be doing a post-fight show immediately following the broadcast of the Mayweather-Guerrero fight, so you can catch that live right on Fight Now TV or right here on BillyCBoxing.com. So make sure you mark that one down. Now, as far as our special shows, the Talk to Me Man show and the Change My Mind show and everything. We will not be doing those next week because of the special Mayweather thing, but we will return to our normal schedule the following week. Now, we will be giving you guys an update on our time change and hopefully some other news that we will find out hopefully this week. So we will keep you posted on that. Now, stream update. Our streaming company that we have been using has really crapped out on us. Ustream has really failed. They do not have the consistent stream anymore. It's been choppy. They choke us out and all this other thing. I understand maybe some of the reasons why, but that doesn't work for us. So we have experimented, and we did get ourselves a much better stream, which is actually live right now on YouTube. However, we are experiencing some growing pains with that, like some small detail of no sound today. So we will work on that, and hopefully tomorrow we will simulcast both streams and eventually kick Ustream to the curb and use YouTube all the time. So that's a little update for you live viewers and listeners. As far as the YouTubers, we're going to continue to put the internet version of the show up there, but all the specials are still only available through our premium podcast subscriptions. I highly recommend that you subscribe. Not only will you get all the shows all the time, like on Monday we lost the video version of the show. So the only people that got to watch it or listen to it were either the Fight Now television viewers or the premium podcast subscribers. So there is a reason to spend $15 a year if you love the show and like to listen to it every day. And then here's the more important reason. It supports us, and we need your support. So if you can do that, we would be greatly appreciated. And it's real easy. Just visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on Become a Premium Podcast Subscriber. As a matter of fact, there's a banner now. It's on the left-hand side of the screen that says Billy C Premium. If you click that, it will show you the two options you have, either a monthly or a yearly option. So we really hope you can help us and keep the show going, and that's how it's going to happen. So speaking of money, they announced a purse bid for the Vladimir Klitschko and Alexander Povetkin fight. Now keep in mind, Klitschko's fighting Francisco Piata, and Alexander Povetkin is also got a fight that he's scheduled to fight, the Polish fighter Andrzej Warwazark, I think is how you pronounce his name, Warzark. But they're both fighting in May. Vladimir fights next weekend, and Povetkin is 2 weeks after that. Providing they both win the fight, they are slated to meet each other. This was a strange deal, in my opinion. First of all, the WBA ordered this purse bid. Now, I'm not so sure what it's for, because Vladimir Klitschko already has the WBA Super World Heavyweight Championship, and Povetkin has the regular old WBA World Heavyweight Champion. So if Povetkin wins, he maintains his WBA World Heavyweight Champion title. If Klitschko wins, he maintains his Super World Heavyweight title, and then the regular old heavyweight world title gets vacated. So I don't know, man. But here's the best part. The purse bid was won by Haryunov Promotions, who actually Vlad Haryunov is the manager of Alexander Povetkin. They won the purse bid that was held yesterday in Panama City. $23 million, $23,233,330 was what the purse bid. Almost 3 times the amount of the second place bidder, which was Klitschko's promotional company, who bid a little over $7 million, and Sauerland Event, they bid a little over $6 million. $23 million which gets divided. 75% goes to the champion, and which is Klitschko, because he's getting the full billing on that. And 25% goes to Povetkin as an official challenger. So interesting money there. We'll talk about that tomorrow. And that was kind of like a throwback bid. You know, those are the purse bids of Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield era. You know, when Don King roamed the earth as the top promoter. You know, and now you know, you get a multi-million-dollar purse bid and everybody's happy. This one's $23 million. Big stuff, man. So you can tell that that's a big fight out in most likely Germany is where they're going to have it.
Wake up. It's time for the...
It's too early for a trivia question.
Alrighty then. Today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question is being brought to us by Gleason's Gym in Brooklyn, New York. Check them out. You can get to their website, www.billycboxing.com, and just click one of the Gleason Gym banners, and I'll direct you right over to their website. Don't forget, mention Billy C and demand a Billy C discount for anything you get from Gleason's Gym, whether you're signing up at one of their 3 locations. They got Brooklyn, they got Manhattan, they got Jersey Shore. So if you're going to sign up for a class or a membership, make sure when you call them, you can reach Gleason's directly, 718-797-2872, 718-797-2872. Tell them Billy C sent you. Demand a discount, especially if you sign up for this year's boxing fantasy camp. As soon as you do so, please drop us an email, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com, and we'll get Dax to cover you and write about your experience in the boxing fantasy camp. You know you regretted not going last year. Go this year. Sign up today. 718-797-2872. Today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question, which is supplied to us by our very own trivia question guru, Henry Haskup, has Sal Senecola, the last Sal Senecola koozie from his Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria, on the line for the first winner, for the first correct answer who gets this trivia question. I gave a big hint yesterday. I'm going to give it again. What former world champion suffered the most consecutive, or let me rephrase it. What world champion suffered the most consecutive knockout or TKO knockout defeats? What former world champion suffered the most knockout or TKO defeats? I gave you a hint. It was a former world light heavyweight. So what world light heavyweight champion suffered the most knockout or TKO defeats? I'm not going to give you his name yet because I hope that you find it. I may give you how many times he was stopped as the next hint, but we're looking for the winner. Email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com. I'll send you the koozie. What former world light heavyweight champion suffered the most consecutive knockout or technical knockout defeats? If you know that answer, email me for the prize, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com.
This day in boxing history.
And finally, this day in boxing history is being brought to us by Campanaro and Tomkovich. If you're looking for a lawyer, use the ones that keep my ass out of trouble. That is Campanaro and Tomkovich. Give them a call today, 845-221-4099. 845-221-4099. Let Campanaro and Tomkovich knock out your legal problem. 845-221-4099. I got some interesting stuff today. On this day, April 24th, in 1916, Jack Britton wins a 20-round decision over Ted Kid Lewis to win the world welterweight title, and that took place in New Orleans. Now, here's a side note about that fight. Jack Britton had lost the title to Lewis in August of the year before, in August of 1915, and then he regained it on this day in 1916, and he lost it again in June of 1917. But guess what? He regained it again by a 9th-round knockout over Ted Kid Lewis in March of 1919. So talk about handing the title back and forth between Jack Britton and Ted Kid Lewis. Also, on this day, April 24th, in 1931, Tony Canzoneri knocks out Jackie Kidberg in the 3rd round to win the world junior welterweight title. That took place in Chicago. And finally, on this day, April 24th in 1999, Keith Holmes knocks out Hassan Sharif in the 7th round to regain his WBC world middleweight title, and that took place in Washington, D.C. Hey, man, that concludes our show for today. I got one more thing to say. I love that Batman theme, man, you know, especially the old ones. Oh, yeah, my one more thing to say. Make sure you tune in. Oh, yeah, no. What's my line? Oh, yeah, that's right. Make sure you tune in, same bat time, same bat channel. Yeah, that's it. And there's only one channel, a Fight Now channel. Only information about the channel can be found on our website, www.fightnow.com. See you all tomorrow. Ciao, baby.